Mm.
Hello.
No.
Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, helas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuyak ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ang pagaw, ay hinatang tula, awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na naghihinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may di magtitingin, luman ang araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo, ang hindi kaya ng pagkay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Alright, good morning everyone. Narinig po ba tayo sa ating virtual platform? Pa-thumbs up naman po tayo if clear ang ating audio. Ayan,
Clear,
thank you
ma'am.
so much po. Okay
Morning,
po,
ma'am.
thank you. Okay po. Welcome to the webinar on NEO Orientation Course Ipeyas Knowledge Sharing Sessions for Enhancing the Management Competencies of Local Officials and Functionaries of Cordillera Administrative Region. So good morning po sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat po dahil despite of our busy schedule, napuno po ang ating online platform. Currently po, meron po tayong 76 participants at nag-expect pa po tayo ng darating mamaya. So before we formally start the event, please allow us to recognize our participants in this event. Unahin na po natin ang pinakamalapit na probinsya. Okay, nakikita po natin dito ang Benguet. We have Mayor Florante Jr. Bantales, sir. Are you on board po? Okay po. Okay, so ayan, dahil marami nga po tayo mga participants, pa-thumbs up na lang po tayo if marinig po natin ang ating provinces. Simulan po natin sa province of Benguet. Good morning po sa ating mga participants. Pa-thumbs up naman po. Okay, how about po sa province ng Apayao? Okay, thank you so much. How about po sa province of Ifugao?
Agio.
Ayan. Hagio, Ifugao. Magandang umaga, sir. How about sa probinsya ng Abra? Ayan, may mga nakikita tayo mga participants. Mhm. How about sa Mountain Province? Okay, meron tayong participants from Mountain Province. And of course, sa ating Kalinga Province. Meron po ba, mga ma'am, sirs? Pa-thumbs up, ayan. Proud na proud po si ma'am sa ating online platform. Magandang umaga po. Okay. And of course po, ang ating host city, ang ating Baguio. Magandang umaga po. Meron po ba tayong nakahabol na participant sa event natin?
Yes, good morning from Baguio
Yeah,
City,
good morning,
Councilor
Ma'am
Tabanda.
Betty. Opo, good morning, good morning. Ayan, so kung makikita po natin, meron po tayong a total of 76 participants as of today.
Split view.
And then, at alam din natin na meron po tayong magkakasamang participants sa iisang Zoom account. So later on po, please, if we may remind again each and everyone po to please put your names or your appropriate LGUs as well for us to be able to recognize you as well later on. So without further ado po, to keep the ball rolling, may we call on our regional director, Araceli A. San Jose, to give us a background and of course an opening message on what's going to happen on today's event. Arlicel, good morning.
Thank you very much, Pami. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Naimbag nga bigat tayo amin, Apo. On behalf of the DILG-CAR, it is my honor to welcome all of you and to express my gratitude to our esteemed resource speaker. Walang iba po kundi si Dr. Lizan E. Perante-Calina of the Development Academy of the Philippines for accepting our invitation to be with us today. And of course, sa atin pong mga minamahal, the local officials and functionaries ng Cordillera kasama ng ating mga kapatid sa DILG. Thank you for attending this NEO Ipeyas series. Ito po kasing NEO Ipeyas series is a unique learning intervention developed by our office. The NEO Ipeyas program holds special significance as it embodies the essence of Kankana-ey values of Ipeyas ng Gawis, which means sharing of what is good. This supplemental learning intervention is designed to be a platform for sharing good local governance practices and community development, reinforcing the spirit of collaboration and progress that define our very own region. Today, we embark on an exciting journey focused on enhancing our strategic management skills and cultivating futures thinking among our esteemed local officials and functionaries. In an era of rapid change and evolving challenges, it is imperative that we equip ourselves with the tools and knowledge needed to make informed decisions that shape the future of our communities and our beloved constituents. Through this first learning session on strategic management and futures thinking, we aim to explore innovative approaches and best practices that will enable us to navigate the complexities of governance with foresight and resilience. It is a unique opportunity to learn from our distinguished resource speaker, Dr. Lizan, and tap into her wealth of experience and expertise. So I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all of you, our dear local officials and functionaries, and even mga kapatid natin sa DILG who are here present in this online session. Your unwavering dedication and commitment to public service are truly commendable. It is through your tireless efforts that our region continues to thrive and flourish. Your presence here is a testament of your eagerness to learn enhance your skills, and explore new avenues for the betterment of our communities and, of course, our fellow Cordillerans. Let us embrace this learning session with open minds and hearts, fostering an environment of collaboration and knowledge sharing. As we embark on this journey together, let us remember that we are not simply officials and functionaries for fulfilling our own duties and responsibility. Pero mga tao po tayo, we are human beings working towards the collective well-being of our kakailian. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Lizan, for your expertise and guidance, which will be instrumental in shaping our NEO Ipeyas initiative. Without further ado, I invite all of you to fully engage in today's session. Mag-participate po tayo actively sa mga discussions and embrace the opportunity to learn from one another. Together, let us strengthen our strategic management skills and cultivate futures thinking to ensure a brighter and more prosperous future for the Cordillera Administrative Region. Let us commence this enlightening journey of knowledge and growth. Matago-tagot ako amin iyaman.
Maraming salamat, Ardicel, for that inspirational message. And of course, I think na-ignite na po natin ulit sa ating mga sarili yung ating pagiging public servants. Ano? Tulad nga po ng nasabi ni Ardicel earlier, kailangan po natin palaging na-enhance or nakakapacitate ang ating capabilities, especially we are leading public service, tama? So without further ado, please allow me to, of course, before we proceed or before we introduce our speaker for today, may we please invite each and everyone po to please open your camera for our photo documentation habang okay pa po ang ating mga internet connections. Yan. Kindly open po your cameras. Ayan, so we could start the photo documentation. Ayan. Okay. Medyo marami-rami po ang ating participants ngayon sa online platform. Meron na po tayong 82 participants. So, Sir Kevin, please do the honor of doing the screenshots po. Please provide us your biggest smiles po. Ayan. Sir Kevin, okay, mag-first slide na lang po muna tayo. Okay po, ready po sa ating mga participants sa ating first slide. Okay, 1, 2, smile. Okay, thank you po. Second slide naman po. Ayan, bigyan niyo po kami ng mga matatamis na ngiti. Ayan, maraming salamat. Okay, okay, thank you. Next slide po. 2 slides lang daw. May mga nakikita po kaming humahabol. Ayan, Sir Kevin. Ayan, maraming salamat po. Ayan, ang gaganda ng ngiti ng ating mga participants. Okay, maraming salamat po for opening your cameras. Now, please allow me to introduce our speaker. Okay, Dr. Lizan Perante Calina is the Dean of the Graduate School of Public and Development Management of the Development Academy of the Philippines. She also holds both Doctor of Public Administration and Master of Public Administration degrees from the University of the Philippines, National College of Public Administration and Governance. She finished her Bachelor of Science in Mass Communication, major in Public Relations from the University of Negros Occidental, Recoletos with cum laude honor. As the President of the Philippine Society for Public Administration, Dr. Lizan has distinguished herself as an academic scholar, author of books and journals, local and international, and a resource person in capacity building programs and conferences in the multiple but allied fields of public administration. Her academic interests lie particularly in leadership, public sector reform, innovative governance, and knowledge creation. She also teaches on the graduate level at UP-NCPAG, University of Makati's College of Governance and Public Policy, and the Graduate School of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines PUP Main Campus. Her expertise has been enriched by comparative educational experiences in the United States, Southeast Asia, and in the region. Dr. Perante Calina is also the founder and associate editor of the Philippine Governance Digest, which has been expanded to PGD Online Bulletin. She is also involved in local and international development projects, vice chairperson of the Philippine Social Science Council, and a member of the American Society for Public Administration and Asian Association of Public Administration. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Lizanne E. Perante Calina. Good morning, ma'am. Are you on board? Hi,
Hiraya,
ma'am. Good morning.
hi, good day. Today we will discuss something new, but not really something new because this was introduced internationally speaking many decades ago. But in the Philippines, we are reintroducing it because in 1970s, it was not democratized. So this is about features thinking and foresight as handles in governance and towards sustainable development. So let me share my slide presentation to all of you. And the title of the presentation is Innovating for Governance.
Ma'am.
The feature with an S because we always talk about multiple features and it is open. And another is innovating. Innovating is about innovation, knowledge co-creation, and then governance and development. These are buzzwords that have been introduced many, many decades ago. So with that, I'd like to draw your attention in this slide. And this is about long-termism versus short-termism. As you can see here, Hofstede made a study or conducted a study about the long-term orientation of different countries. Here in the Philippines, we have the so-called short-term orientation because we only got 27% compared to Indonesia, they got 62%, while South Korea, 100%. 100% because they have the so-called established anticipatory governance mindset. So the point here is that what are the gaps? What are the problems that we encounter when it comes to introducing reforms, innovations, and of course, in crafting policies towards sustainable development. And in planning, likewise, do we push for short-term planning or we are looking at a time horizon like 20 or 30 years? So that's something that we need to look into or delve into. That is why the objectives of this presentation will really look into the basic concepts about future thinking and foresight to support governance and development, to immerse with strategic tools. Basically, these are just a preliminary introduction to the tools and then adapt the principles of future thinking and foresight as wise leader and managers, and of course, explore emerging issues and trends in a VUCA world. And another thing that I'd like to share with you, of course, is the features leadership and governance framework. And this is really about promoting the culture of anticipation, of being an agile and collaborative government. And of course, we need to provide a practical application of the framework to current and future pandemics for making civil servants features ready. So again, the context is about COVID-19, but we're almost in the finish line and we are looking at a brighter future. But by looking at the brighter future, we have to be ready likewise. What if the next, COVID-19 part 2 will arise? What are we going to do? So we have to be ready with the disruption, with discontinuity, with disturbance that may, affect us in the next couple of years or in the next 5, 10, or 20 years. So the features, as we are living in a complex environment, is faster than we think. According to Diamandis and Cutler, there are 6 Ds of exponentials. Of course, we're looking at digitalization, deception, disruption, as well as demonetization, dematerialization, and democratization. And these 6 Ds of exponentials really talk about the acceleration of the acceleration, the existential risks that we are facing. So as public managers and leaders, what are we going to do? So we need to have the so-called set of skills and competencies in us to really prepare for the future. We may not be able to evade the existential risks, but somehow we'll be able to mitigate the risks or the uncertainties that we might be facing in the next couple of years. Another thing is, of course, the black elephant, the black swan, the black jellyfish, as shown in this futurist menagerie by Robert Hickson. As you can see here, you have the futurist metaphorical menagerie, which talks about the black elephant. These are events that are extremely likely and widely predicted that are usually ignored by society because, of course, the kind of mindset that the society has. The black swan, this is an event totally outside and way beyond our observations. And the black jellyfish, an example of this, of course, COVID-19, things we think we know and understand, but which turned out to be more complex and uncertain than we expected. So COVID-19 has been there in the map of emerging diseases for the past 30 years, but we somehow ignored it, or somehow we think it will not really, pose a great impact in the society. But as we are here in the situation right now, we experience more than 24 months of suffering because of COVID-19. So with that, 6 Ds and the existential risks, we want our preferred future. And what is that preferred future? So the future that we want, of course, is a subject matter that suggests an ideal scenario of communities, of families, living happily. We have this so-called quality of life. We're looking at the well-being and the common good of all Filipino people without problems, without worries, and satisfied with our daily activities. So that is the preferred future. But we have to consider different areas, different indicators, different or emerging trends for that matter. So how do we create our preferred feature, like to have stable, safe, secured, understandable, predictable, orderly, and within our control? So we have to prepare for it. We have to create our preferred feature. And how are we going to create our preferred feature? Well, in the Philippine bureaucracy, we need professional civil servants whom we consider as forward-looking civil servants, as leaders who have an open mind, who are agile and who are innovative and who are creative for that matter. Because in futures thinking, in having that anticipatory mindset, we need to have the so-called imagination. Having lack of imagination is a sort of sickness in the government. We call it a bureaupathology for that matter. So we need to have imagination. We need to be creative in order for us to prepare for the future. And we need professional civil servants who have a role to play in a future scenario of a prosperous Philippines. So basically, the skills that we need for our professional civil servants are those who can create or who can build scenarios so that we are always prepared for the next coming months, for the next coming years. So the time horizon that we will identify in scenario building is properly laid down. So with that, professionals practice and apply their expertise by not just working in the comfort of their office jobs, not only in the comfort zone, but have to contribute more to knowledge production and sharing, especially those who are into teaching and research. Research is an important component in futures thinking and foresight. So you cannot just do futures thinking and foresight without doing a research. And that will lead to an evidence-based policy making or a sound policy making for that matter. So to prepare our civil servants, we need to have the so-called capacity building on futures thinking and foresight. So it is not just a one-day activity, but it is a continuous activity. It is really about learning by doing, so that we'll be able to consider that as part of our culture. In Singapore, they have two teams in their civil service. One team is in charge with the daily activities, and the other team is in charge with the future. So they're always looking at the next 2 months, in the next 3 years, in the next 4 years. So they have that so-called anticipation. And that is very effective for the Singaporean community. So we would like to introduce the same here in the Philippines. So in short, futures thinking is a set of competencies. And these competencies, once acquired, make professionals attuned to the fast changes, to the acceleration that surround us. So with that, we have the so-called surprise management kit or toolkit with us, as always, in order for us to mitigate any uncertainties. In this slide, as you can see, you have here the governance reform framework. And in this governance reform framework, we are looking at the so-called different indicators or different elements. And one, of course, is the changing of mindsets. Changing of mindsets is important. And this was validated by the United Nations. In this report of United Nations, wherein it talks about changing mindsets and governance capacities for policy coherence, pointed out that changing mindsets is a strategy towards sustainable development. So what are these mindsets that we need? One, of course, is anticipatory governance mindset. Second is foresight mindset, agile mindset, ethical mindset, and a lot more. So there are different types of mindsets included in this report, and the framework that we introduced together with Professor Marcel and Dr. Alex is included in this report. Right? So with that, with this framework, I was inspired to craft also a framework which is entitled Features, Leadership, and Governance Framework. This is somehow a bid for a holistic approach to carving out desirable features. And what are the elements here? So we have futures thinking, which I'm discussing now. We have Hiraya foresight, that is about the indigenization of futures thinking and foresight. Futures thinking is about the discipline, right? And foresight is about the practical application of it. So we need to contextualize when we apply foresight in the Philippines based on our culture, based on our values. Another thing here is knowledge co-creation. Knowledge co-creation is an important thing in innovation. You cannot introduce innovation if you don't have knowledge co-creation. So it's important that we always share insights, perspectives, and we have an open space to discuss both tacit and explicit knowledge. The wrapping mechanism of this is frenetic leadership. So frenetic leadership is about the 6 abilities of a good leader, or of a wise leader. As you can see, you have there the ability to make judgment based on goodness, the ability to perceive reality as it is using our 5 senses, the ability to create the ba or a platform wherein we have the same shared context or the same or shared context, and the ability to articulate the essence into narratives, and the ability to exercise political power. And equally important, of course, the ability to foster fairnesses. And that is really about the common good. Another thing is about the well-being of the Filipino people. So when we talk about the well-being of the Filipino people, we're talking about our vision as a country. What is our vision as a country? Our vision as a country is to build a just and humane society. And this is anchored on our motto, Makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan at makabansa, and with our Filipino values. So bayanihan, balikatan, malasakit, and among others. Our Constitution, especially our preamble, provides what are the Filipino values, what are the values that we need to promote in the Philippine bureaucracy and in the community as well. So it is stated there. And likewise, I'd like to get your attention on this one. This is important because it talks about sustainable development. It talks about the future generation. And talking about the future generation, we have to take good care of this generation in order for the next generation to sustain it. So this is about the principle of intergenerational responsibility. The intergenerational responsibility doctrine was emphasized in the case of Oposa versus Factorian. That is the case about illegal logging. And it talks about the right of minor children who are below 18 years old and who do not have the legal capacity to file a case. It says there, the Supreme Court rather decided that they have the right to file a case against illegal loggers by invoking intergenerational responsibility doctrine. So that is the framework is all about. So what is future thinking again? Again, it is a competence or a skill, very helpful to all of us, public managers, public leaders, including development leaders from the private sector. And if we immerse ourselves into future thinking, it will really contribute towards what? Towards innovation, towards agility, towards sound decision making. That's why we also need to influence our policymakers to delve into future thinking and foresight. And if we ask questions using future thinking as a lens, we may ask simple to difficult questions. Simple questions: what are the implications of COVID-19? It's not that simple, right? And what are the possible, the plausible, probable, and preferred features of professional development, for example, because we are talking about civil service, we're talking about the Philippine bureaucracy. So by looking at the possible, plausible, probable, and preferred features, we need to use different tools. So we need to be scientific for this one. And for cities, for example, how will cities look like in the next 18 months, in 5 years, 10, or even 20 years? So, it's now high time. It's really high time to formulate strategies now. We are in a tuna world full of turbulence, uncertainties. It's about novelty, it's about ambiguity. And with all these existential risks, we need to convert wicked problems into wicked opportunities. And how are we going to do that? Of course, we need to paint in a bigger canvas the so-called art. And that is about being adaptive, being resilient, being transformative. And not only that, equally important in all of these things is to be ethical, for that matter, because being a features thinker, it talks about what? It talks about ethics. It talks about moral values, for that matter. So painting the tuna world into a bigger canvas, which is art, is really all about converting wicked problems into wicked opportunities. So foresight, again, our futures thinking, for that matter, as we use them interchangeably, it's not about predicting the future, but rather imagining multiple features in creative ways. That is why in the first few minutes, I mentioned about imagination and creativity, because imagination and creativity is very important. And if we immerse ourselves into this one, it really heightens our ability to sense, shape, and adapt to what happens in the years ahead. And it's time consuming though, but you are looking at different perspective. You're looking at a different feature for that matter. It's not about, copying what have been decided before. So you are trying to provide new solutions to the new problems, not new problems, old solutions for that matter, and that is very expensive. And immersing with this kind of activity, you are also introducing innovation and agility by not looking at business as usual scenario. So futures thinking is an approach to identifying long-term issues and challenges shaping the future development of a policy area. And you explore their implications for policy development. That's very important. Sometimes we just craft policies, but we don't talk about implications. So in crafting policies, we need to look at the implications as always. But these are some of the gaps. No? One of the gaps, of course, is not taking into consideration the implications of a certain policy. Future thinking and foresight are handles that really invite different stakeholders in one platform. So it's open. It's about multiple insights. It's about different worldviews. But at the end of the day, you're able to craft your preferred feature by looking at different scenarios. So it brings together key agents of change and various sources. So the question is, why should you embark on a foresight exercise? Well, I mentioned some of the reasons, but there are also some reasons that you need to know, like shifting the focus of senior manager or management dialogue towards the long-term orientation or area. Another, of course, is showing or attaining thought leadership on a given topic. That is very important in an organization. And when you do this, you generate new ideas, you explore innovative ways of responding to policy challenges, not the business as usual, as I mentioned earlier. So in doing that and looking at the probable, the plausible, the preferred features, you need to look at the different tools in foresight and features thinking. So there are a number of tools actually. So as you can see in the slide, you have there emerging issue analysis, the futures wheel, shared history, futures triangle. You have backcasting, causal layered analysis, and a lot more. So it will really depend on you on what are the tools that you want to use. So you can explore a number of tools in only one area that you want to focus on. So one of the examples that you can use is backcasting, and this is about exploring the dynamics of change. And when you do this, you can explore driver mapping workshop. And what are you going to do if you are in a driver mapping workshop? Well, first, basically, you have to identify your focal concern, then identify drivers that will affect your focal concern, then make a scenario of your preferred feature. And in doing that, you may look into the different areas by using PESTLE, STEEP, PESTO in clustering your ideas or indicators of change for that matter. And driver mapping is used to identify the political, economic, societal, technological, even legislative and environmental drivers shaping the future policy environment. So this is very useful and practical because you can already cluster the drivers accordingly. So like, for example, in technology, what are the drivers of change there? So you just have to identify and so on and so forth. So in exploring, you can now proceed to backcasting. And backcasting is an effective way of connecting a given feature to the present and identifying what needs to be done to deliver it. So what are the the aims or objectives of backcasting. So basically, first, you have to identify drivers shaping the future. Second, you identify which drivers are most important for the future of the policy area or strategic endeavor, and to distinguish between certain and uncertain outcomes resulting from the action of your drivers, like PESEL, PES2, VSTEEP, and so on and so forth. So your output will look at a list of your drivers that need to be acted on, drivers that need to be tracked, and drivers that are important for the policy area, but that have an uncertain outcome. And your outcome are agreed priorities for action, right? And this backcasting is good for understanding the dynamics of change, identifying issues that have a high impact on the policy areas. And likewise, as I mentioned earlier, distinguishing between drivers with a certain and uncertain outcome for that matter. So with that, the participants in this workshop, in this backcasting, work backwards. Later on, I'll show you the diagram or the figure for that matter. Participants work backwards from the future and identify the key steps or events and decisions that will make it happen. One particular focus of backcasting is to identify what lies within the control of the policy and strategy makers and can therefore be delivered. What lies outside their control and therefore needs to be managed. So in this tool, you'll be able to really explore the dynamics of change. So the tool has 6 steps. First, introduce your preferred feature. It's not really required if it was developed by the group. Secondly, identify the key differences between the present and your preferred feature. All right. And third, you build a timeline or your time horizon that sets out the key changes needed to move from the present reality to the preferred feature. So your time horizon could be 2050, for example, or 2030 for that matter. So this is the illustration of backcasting. As you can see here, you have to look at the vision of what I want, of what you want for that matter. So you have to begin with the end in mind, and that is 2050, for example. That's your time horizon. Then you have to move backwards from the vision to the present, then move step by step towards the vision. So an example of this is the sustainability of the planet, society, and people, and of the Obashi group. So in 2050, their vision is sustainability of the planet, society, and people. And what are their targets in 2040? So you have to backcast and then go to 2030, your targets. You have your sustainable development goals, then the present conditions. You have to outline that. You have to enumerate. And then now you go back with your action plan from the present conditions to your targets for 2030 to 40. And then you will, of course, attain your vision for 2050. So there you go. So that's an example, one example of backcasting made by Obayashi Group for the planet, society, and people sustainability. Another helpful tip is, of course, is to look at the global risks report. I don't know if we already have the 2020, but based on the 2021 global risks report, you have the top risks by likelihood and by impact. So here, as you can see, you have extreme weather, you have climate action failure. For top risks by impact, the infectious diseases, of course. Then you also have your climate action failure, weapons of mass destruction, and you have number 10 here, livelihood crisis for the likelihood, and the high by impact, you have IT infrastructure breakdown. So we have to be ready for that as well. So how do you do backcasting? Well, basically, it will depend. So we can have a breakout room for 6 groups, 5. It will depend on the number of co-learners inside the classroom. Then you are given at least 1.5 hours to do the workshop in a online setting. Then you have 30 minutes for preliminaries and closing, 40 minutes for small team discussion, and 20 minutes for plenary sharing. So your sharing of outputs is really about, you know, assigning someone. No? So you need to have a lead discussant, or all of you can share, no, to share the to share your output, no, or your preferred feature for that matter. So that is all about a backcasting, looking at your preferred feature. So what are the benefits in doing all of these things? So as professional civil servants, we'll be able to identify emerging issues. That's important. No, we need to do that. We should not have a mindset of bahala na system. We need to be anticipatory. We need to be creative. We need to be imaginative in order for us to negotiate uncertainties, articulate scenarios, not the business as usual, but what are the alternatives for that matter, develop a common vision of the desired feature, introduce innovation, and of course, design robust policies and strategies, right? Often despite limited resources and in a given complex environment. So these are the benefits. And when we indigenize that, we have to look at our values. We have to look at our environment. Context, for that matter, is very important. The ecology where we are operating, where we are living, for that matter. And in contextualizing or indigenizing features, we are looking at the so-called hiraya. No? Why hiraya? Hiraya foresight. No? Well, because it's, for us, it's an appropriate word to describe our future, no? our kinabukasan, or our tomorrow. So it's an ancient word, and for us, it glows and radiates. No? Some of our students here really love the word hiraya, no? And some of you maybe your babies or your children hiraya, no? So it's very interesting because it glows and radiates, really. So it subsumes a lot of unexpressed meaning significances and meaning implications, and we can do this by really engaging in current trends, being catalyst of change, being an effective communicator, but as I mentioned many times, ethical, morally upright, and socially responsible. We need to take care of our community. We need to take care of our organization. We work for the institution, for that matter. Then our ability to change the norm versus the new norm. So you have there a lot of areas to consider. But of course, future thinking and foresight look at evidence-based policy making. So again, you have to take a look at the policy side always. No? So looking at the policy side by not forgetting the so-called people and technology. So this is a nexus of policy, people, and technology. And when you look at people, knowledge sharing and empowerment, discipline and individual responsibility, community engagement are key areas. For technology, of course, AI, robotics, nanotechnology, and so on and so forth. In Japan, they have the so-called Society 5.0, and they are looking at an agile governance and agile community. So policy, we are now embedding futures thinking and foresight in policy and planning. This is a course that we will open very, very soon. I think in June, first week of June. The title is Certificate Course on Foresight and Futures Thinking. So why foresight and futures thinking and not futures thinking alone? Because foresight is about operationalization, and the basic concept there is how are we going to embed futures thinking and foresight in policy and planning. So it's very timely again because we have a new set of local and national leaders, and we would like them to embrace futures thinking and foresight in planning. All right. So there are 5 R's to remember. First, we need to rethink, reframe, retool, reskill, and re-energize if we do foresight and futures thinking in policy and planning. It's really about revisiting the system, revisiting the structure, the organization, the policies for that matter, and the people likewise. So re-energizing, it's about the team working on bringing areas of concerns where foresight and futures thinking can be applied. So again, imagination is the currency of the future, and through imagination, you'll be able to map and gather intelligence to design your preferred feature. And what is that preferred feature? So our preferred feature, of course, is that we need to have sustainable development. And to have that, we need to work today, right? We need to work today in order to create sustainable results today for tomorrow. And that is really all about intergenerational fairness. And this intergenerational fairness will lead us to sustainable development, the true development or genuine development that we want for everybody. So again, there are a number of advantages in doing foresight. So as you can see here, you have better anticipation, policy innovation, feature proofing, and stress testing. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So as I mentioned, these are the advantages in doing foresight. And in looking at the advantages, we have to look at also what is it and isn't not. No? So foresight is not a universal cure to all planning ills. So meaning to say, it's not a solution to everything. It is just one of the tools that we are using. It's just one of the handles, but we are looking at it as a refreshing tool and an inspiring tool for all of us. And oftentimes, we forgot to embed future thinking and foresight in policy and planning. That is why there are so many gaps in the implementation side, because we're not able to begin in a way that we should be anticipatory, no? And we should look at the long-term orientation or at the long-term area of policy and planning. So there are 3 P's in foresight. It's being perspective, of course. You gather genuine information, knowledge and information. Then it is policy related. So we are always emphasizing that in policy making, we always have to integrate foresight and futures thinking. So again, these are also the advantages of foresight. It enhances, when it comes to policy and planning, your methods by really looking at a broader horizon, for that matter, by enabling development, innovation, and transformative efforts in an uncertain and unpredictable reality, by opening up space for other stakeholders. And that is really all about open space. So there are a number of skill sets and competencies required to be features ready. So a lot. There are 9 as stated in the slide, but if I have to cluster them, there are, for me, aside from future thinking, feature foresight, ethical leadership, and design thinking, there are only 2 for me to cluster all of these, and that is being frenetic and futurist. So if you are frenetic, you are looking at goodness. You are always looking at the common good and the well-being of the Filipino people. And being a futurist, meaning to say that you are ethical and you are forward-looking and anticipatory, for that matter. So these are 2 important skill sets and competencies that requires us to be futures ready, being frenetic and being a futurist. So in the Philippines right now, we are introducing foresight and futures thinking first by way of democratizing it. So for the past 24 months, we've been co-creating knowledge with the different sectors, and hopefully in the new administration, we'll be able to continue by deepening features thinking through institutionalization. And that institutionalization will really look at different government agencies with different features thinking laboratories. And of course, towards the end, we'll be able to harvest our preferred feature or the features that we want for the country, for our society, and for our organization. So with that, I'd like to conclude that how are we going to operationalize features thinking is really by cultivating FFT, cultivating foresight and futures thinking in our daily activities. Make it a culture. Start small. We cannot shortcut the future. We have to start with 101, then later institutionalize through intense cooperative, collaborative education and training programs. And with that, after having soft skills, you'll be able to create a central unit, a national institute for that matter, and use indigenous concepts like bayanihan, hiraya, and among others. There are a lot, actually, if you will just discover what are these local concepts or indigenous concepts. There's always power, in so-called local wisdom for that matter. So again, with futures thinking and foresight as handles towards sustainable development, we need to democratize that. And in democratizing it, we need to tap our own local knowledge and wisdom. That is why Hiraya Foresight becomes a suitable indigenous base of futures thinking. So I would like to end here, and later on, I will entertain some questions from your side. So thank you so much, Hiraya Manawari.
Alright, so as you can see po, start pa lang po ng ating event, is masyado na po marami ang naibigay na insight sa atin ng ating speaker. So now po, for the meantime, I will be turning over the floor to Sir Lawrence Malasa for the facilitating of our breakout session rooms. Sir Lawrence, over to you.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to introduce myself again. I'm Lawrence Malasa, one of the program managers here at the Development Academy of the Philippines Graduate School of Public and Development Management. As you have noticed, we played a recording of Dean prepared for lectures on futures thinking. She has to attend to an urgent and another important matter, kaya po I am tasked to facilitate the activity after this lecture of Dean Lizan. So for this activity, we usually do this as a preliminary activity po for our students on foresight and futures thinking. Let me just share my presentation. Kindly wait a bit po. Ayan, kita na po ang presentation. Kindly thumbs up if you're able to see the presentation or the slide. Okay po, maraming salamat sa mga nag-thumbs up react. So for this one, this activity is called Anecdotes of Tomorrow. This is a game. This is an immersive role-playing, storytelling game that will challenge your imagination and your empathy. So Dean Lizan mentioned concepts kanina related to foresight and futures thinking, imagining future scenarios. So for this anecdotes of tomorrow, by anecdotes we mean to say fictions or stories. So today you will be telling stories. However, your stories, we want to tell powerful stories of what could be and what might be. So here are the instructions, and please listen carefully. So there are a total of 6 cards, a phrase card that every group shall use, and 5 element cards unique to each group. So we usually prefer to do this face to face. Actually, ito po yung tsura ng card. Let me remove my background first para makita. So this is usually what it looks like in person. And deck of cards po siya, wherein there are 6 kinds of cards. So these kinds of cards. But for this activity, we have pre-drawn the cards randomly, which will be assigned by group. So each card is composed of at least 1 temporal card, meaning a period in time, or time period. Next is an issue card. So ano po yung particular issue or concern in that scenario. Then persona card, this will be your parang point of view or parang character. Next would be a feeling question. So as this character is being involved in this situation, what is the mood or ano po yung emotion dun sa situation na yon. Next is the question. So this, the last one is the question that you need to answer as a group after you have discussed or shared your insights about the cards assigned to you, or yung nabunot po na cards, quote unquote. So before I elaborate further, allow me a brief demonstration. So for example, I have drawn these cards. So after a cyber attack, regional tensions has made me as an activist feel hopeful. So yun yung parang ganun po siya itutuhog or itatahe. Tell me a story about this future. So what would I do next is situate myself as an activist that is hopeful given a cyber attack and regional tensions in my community, for example. Then finally, I will answer the question: what are some of the opportunities moving forward? So for this card, ito yung cards na ipe-play ko for this game. So ganun po. So each group is encouraged to use all the cards and to answer the question. Yun. For this particular setup po, we will be just we have pre-drawn cards randomly, and we will be assigning this a set of cards to each group. So I have asked the organizers to create breakout groups. Ma'am, were you able to create 10 breakout rooms or 8 lang po?
Sir, 10 breakout session rooms
Okay.
po yung ginawa natin.
Okay, better po. So for this first round, let's try in po muna. You will be divided into 10 groups. You will be assigned a card set like this one. I will be sharing the link to this Google Slides so you can refer to your particular group. But for if sa bagay, hindi pa po ma-identify yung group mates. No? I will be sharing the link before we break out into groups. I will be sharing the link to this Google Slides para po makita ninyo yung inyong assigned na slide or cards. Okay po ba? Malinaw po ba? Or may questions po or clarifications? Kindly use thumbs up if you're clear, if wala na pong questions or clear po instructions, or raise hand if you have any concerns regarding this activity. Okay po ba tayo? Isa pala po nakita ko nag-thumbs up. So for this activity po, I think you will be assigned randomly into a group. So it is encouraged that you just share your thoughts on the group of the cards assigned to you. So you will be given 10 minutes po to discuss. Then afterwards, you will be returning sa plenary to share and assign a representative from each group to share their thoughts lang regarding this exercise. So again, I will be sharing the link to this Google Slides first before you will be assigned to the breakout rooms. I am going to transfer breakout rooms para po ma-observe yung ating discussion. Also, I am with Matthew Bailon, one of our teammates here at the GSPDM to assist with me in terms of looking into the groups. So again, you have 10 minutes to discuss as a group. Then afterwards, assign a representative to share their thoughts or how were you able to answer the activity. So clear po? Okay na po tayo? Can we proceed na po? Thumbs up po ulit tayo kung game na po tayo. Anyone po? Sige po, I will be sharing the link. Kindly refer to slide 4 to 13. Sige po. So bakit po ba natin to ba't po namin to pinapagawa sa ating mga students o when we talk about foresight and futures thinking? Because it parang in futures thinking, in foresight and futures thinking, we need to continuously imagine and reimagine scenarios, possible scenarios. So like this game, you are dealt with a random set of cards, random sequence of events. So the goal is to exercise our creative imagination and expand our horizon, kumbaga, in terms of futures thinking. So if you're able to click the link that I sent sa chat box, I think we're ready to distribute po the participants into breakout rooms. So kung ano po yung group number na ma-assign po sa inyo or breakout number, you will be assigned in that group number din do sa Google Slides. Malinaw po? Can we start na po?
Hello po. So our technical team will be assigning you to your rooms na po. So please ensure lang po natin ang ating participation during the event. And if you have questions po, please feel free to ask us or our facilitator for today's session po. Thank you po. Our breakout sessions po will close in 15 seconds. So kindly wrap up po lahat ng presentations natin later on. And of course, we would like to encourage our participants if we can accommodate at least 2 or 3 representatives to share their learnings later on as per advice po ng ating facilitator. Thank you.
Ayan, nagdadatingan na po ang mga tao. I think we have around 100 kanina na participants. So I think we shall wait for a few seconds for the others to go back to the plenary. So I'd like to share lang din that this game was developed by Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy Executive Education Program. So hindi pa po siya for sale dito sa Philippines if I'm correct. These are just copies given to Dinilzan by the by partners from Singapore. So we have we are privileged to have a copy of this game, and that's why we are sharing it to as many opportunities as possible, including this NEO program. So yeah, I think we can start na po. We can go back to the sharing of our activity. Yeah, basically anyone na lang po from the group or from any group po that would like to share their discussion. So anyone who would like to share, kindly raise their hand.
Okay po. Sir Lauren, so as we noticed earlier, meron tayong 10 breakout session rooms, ano? So randomly po pipili tayo. Any representative po from breakout room 3?
I-share ko na rin yung slide para makita po ng lahat ng inyong cards.
Yes po.
So anyone from group 3 who'd like to take a shot lang po or to attempt lang to answer this question, these cards. Feel free to unmute lang po. Sige po. Sige, siguro nagtuturuan pa sila. I think sa group 4 nagkaroon ng discussion within their group. Anyone from group 4 who would like to share their discussion? Anyone po? Okay, sige. Habang nintay natin yung iba, meron po dito from group breakout room 2. So I will share the cards. Okay, from LGU, SBO, La Trinidad. So after 10 years, pop culture has made you a homeless individual feel so sad. What are you curious about in the future? So sabi po dito, due to my addiction, impulse buying, or failed investment, and prioritizing my wants over my needs in today's pop culture, 10 years from now, sadly, I became homeless. So napag-connect po yung persona, yung issue, then yung emotion. So mga ganong klase. This is a good example po. Finally, what are you curious about the future? How do I look like as a homeless individual? So what is pop culture 10 years from now? How does pop culture influence? So yun, and housing program kasi nga po homeless. Yeah, this is one way of answering the question by kasi yung tanong, what are you curious about? So yung sagot po sa breakout room 2 is ano yung mga questions that they would like to see in that state 10 years from now. So thank you very much po group 2 for sharing. Yeah, thank you very much po group 2. Any groups po that would like to share their discussions or their answers? Siguro we can call 1 to 2 more po. Anyone from the plenary who would like to share po? Group 7, sige po. Group 7, feel free to unmute lang po. Councilor Mailen. So sa group 7, meron silang after regional tensions, anti-establishment movement has made you a citizen feel frustrated. Who are your enemies in this future? Sige po ma'am, type lang po. Habang tina-type ni ma'am, anyone, any group pa po that would like to share? You can type it lang po or you can unmute.
Sir, baka we can choose randomly again. May we try representatives from or a representative from breakout room 6?
6. Meron po anyone from group 6?
Okay,
So,
so baka
sige
nagdi-discussion
po.
pa sila, Sir Lawrence.
Can we try ano po, group 9? Anyone from group 9 po?
Probably, Sir Lawrence, while we are waiting for the other groups to to finalize or to wrap up their answers or contributions or learnings, probably we could address po muna yung anong group si
Group
ayan,
7.
yeah, group
Ito.
7 po.
After an issue in regional water resources, so yun, nag-focus sila sa water resources as source of the issue. The cause of severe drought has made the farmer and fisherman of supply chain feel helpless and uncertain. Ay, sorry, anong... Tama po ba? 7 po? Sige po. How will you harness and ascertain the supply of water in the future? I-check ko lang po kung anong ano po yun. Ito po yung iba sa mga set of cards. Tama po ma'am, sa 7 po sila nakaano.
Yes, sir po, group 7.
Okay, sige. So medyo nag-deviate po yung sharing nila, no? But andito po yung issue on regional water resources. Has made the farmer and fisherman of the supply chain. Yes po, ma'am. Ay, sige po. We have to say that if we can prevent this problem. Okay. Yeah. A good point raised by this one. So if we act now, we can prevent this problem or any problem in general, since that is the goal of futures thinking, na parang in order to actualize our preferred scenarios in the future, we need to do something right now. So the first step is to be able to assess and map the things that are happening right now, and to anticipate the emerging trends and challenges that may come ahead. So it may not be a problem right now, but nakikita na natin siya na may potential to affect our sector, our community. It may not be much right now, but yun nga, given certain factors that may arise ahead, it may aggravate or pwedeng lumaki siya that may aggravate or may help your community or your sector. So I think the goal of this exercise is nga, first is to use our imagination to situate ourselves in different personas, across different personas when we face different challenges and different contexts. Yeah, in our work, siguro it can help us in looking ahead and anticipating what might happen in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Before we used to conduct meetings or seminars like this in person. We have to travel to a venue, but now we can do it through Zoom. So parang yeah, what possible adjustments that we may do, or what possible policies that we may implement right now that would make sure that our preferred future or our preferred scenarios or preferred situations will be actualized. So yeah, I think we can end with that note that if we do something right now, if we are aware of what lies ahead or what possible scenarios lies ahead right now, we can do something, or either we can prevent or we can make it come true. So yun, maraming salamat po for your time and your participation, and thank you very much again for inviting DAP Graduate School and Dinizan for the DLG-NEO program. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Lawrence. Now we are opening the floor po for questions, clarifications, recommendations, and of course your suggestions po. Going once, going twice po. Wala po bang mga mag-questions or sharings ng kanilang mga learnings, observations? All right. So I think Sir Lawrence, clear naman po ang ating naging breakout session activity. So with that, I'll be turning over the floor po for sa aming focal, Sir Shakil Buraga, for further announcements po.
Hello, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Thank you very much for joining the first series po ng ating Ipeyas online learning session. So if you notice po no dun sa ating program, these are short learning sessions po na ikakandak natin every Friday from May to June. So natapos na po natin yung ating pong first session today. So we're also going to have several sessions pa po no for the month of June. No, we have scheduled 2 sessions more. June 9 on transformational leadership which will be joined by the Council for the Restoration of Filipino Values, and June 23 session 3 human resource management, we will be joined by the Civil Service Commission po. No? So we hope that you can also join us during those days po. No? And of course, the certificate of participation po, we hope that you can complete po no yung mga tatlong sessions po natin, session 1, 2, 3 for the first wave, para mabigyan po namin kayo ng certificate of completion for this activity. And then later po, ayan, so we also have our post-evaluation for this session po, no. So ilalagay namin po sa chat box po yung post-evaluation where you can evaluate po yung conduct ng activity natin today, and also a prerequisite po for us to issue po yung certificate of completion po. So hopefully pwede pong ma-scan natin yung ating QR code, and of course ito po yung link which also we shared na rin sa ating chat box. And of course a reminder to everyone to accomplish po yung ating attendance sheet po before we end the activity.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Sir Shaq. But before we conclude today's session, please allow us to present this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Lizanne E. Perante Calina for her invaluable time, effort, and contribution as a resource speaker on the topic strategic management and futures thinking. During the conduct of the NEO orientation course, Ipeyas Knowledge Sharing Sessions for enhancing the management competencies of local officials and functionaries of the Cordillera Administrative Region, held on May 26, 2023 via Zoom cloud meeting. Given this day of May 2023, signed, digitally signed po. I'm not really sure what happened sa ating signature. Signed by Araceli A. San Jose, CESO for our regional director. So congratulations po and thank you so much. The certificate of completion will be 10. Okay. Okay. After the 3 sessions po being completed by our participants. And of course, we would also like to take this opportunity po to thank each and everyone po for attending the said activity. We appreciate your efforts po and next time po, baka pwede pa po natin i-encourage yung ating participants to be more involved and participative po dahil lahat po tayo ay beacons of good public service and governance. So we would also like to take this opportunity po to announce regarding po yung bida natin na it will definitely be postponed dahil po sa impending threats ng ating typhoon. So please for further announcements regarding the conduct of bida, please stay tuned po sa ating mga official pages, especially sa mga pages ng ating operating units. So I think that would be all. Thank you so much po for participating the session 1, strategic management and futures taking for local officials and functionaries, NEO Ipeyas. Have a nice day, everyone, and congratulations to all of us.
Thank you.
Ayan, our post-evaluation link po is already posted in our chat box. Please do so po so that we could also improve our facilitating skills and of course, the delivery of our services. Thank you so much po once again. Have a nice day, everyone. Ingat po tayo.
Ano naman